Hello children and welcome to the session today. Children, whenever you have to go from your house to your school, what do you need? You need something to transport you, right? From school to your house, again you need something to transport you back. Similarly, in every day, we need means of transportation to carry out our daily activities. Today in this chapter number 11, we are going to understand the transportation of materials in plants and animals. That means in the living body. So inside our body also, there is a lot of transportation, movement that is happening, right? How do you know that? If you place your hand on your chest lightly, you feel your heart pumping. Why do you think your heart is pumping? What is it pumping? It is pumping blood. Wherever there is a tiny cut by mistake also, what happens? Blood comes out. That means there is blood all over our body and it is constantly moving. Why is this blood moving? Is there anything inside the plants also that is moving? These are some of the questions that we are going to answer in this chapter. Now let us first understand what all needs to be transported inside the living body. Food, water, oxygen, minerals. These need to be transported to different parts of the body. So we learned about respiration in the previous chapter and we learned about cellular respiration. So cellular respiration takes place at the cell level. Inside the cell uses oxygen to break down the food, release energy and carbon dioxide. Now this carbon dioxide that is released is a waste. Can it remain in the cell? No, it cannot. It has to be thrown out of the body. Even this energy has to be transported to different other parts where energy is not being produced or where there is a deficit of energy. So this is talking about the transportation of materials in animals. Now we talk about transportation of materials in plants. What do we understand? So plants, basically we know that for the process of photosynthesis, plants need water. Now where does this water come from? We know that the basic structure of the plant contains a shoot which has got the leaves and a root system which is under the ground. So the water from the soil is absorbed by the roots and it travels through the stem to the leaves where photosynthesis takes place. Right? So that means what do we need to transport? We need to transport water. Once again, the food that is being prepared in the leaf has to be transported to all parts of the plants. So another set of cells is required to transfer the food and a different set is required to transport water. So children, the function of transportation of water and food is done by two different set of tissues. Water is transported by xylem and food is transported by phloem. How do you remember this? F for food and F sound of phloem. So if you remember one, you can automatically remember the other. Now let us understand how is this transportation against gravity possible. So let us again consider the basic structure of the plant. The leaves on top and the roots at the bottom. So what is happening in the leaves? They are constantly giving out water by the process of transpiration, because of which what is happening? There is a suction that is created. Because water is thrown out from here, a suction is created that pulls up the water. Second thing that is taking place inside the roots is that the cells in the roots have a very concentrated cytoplasm. What do you mean by concentrated cytoplasm? So suppose if I take half a glass of water and I add 5 teaspoons of sugar in it. So what is it going to become? It is going to become a very lumpy kind of a solution even if I keep mixing it for 5 minutes. That's a concentrated solution. in the cells, whenever there is a concentrated area, it will automatically attract water. It will try and absorb water so that it can take care of the concentrated solution that is there, the cytoplasm. And this kind of absorption of water is known as osmosis. So basically, there are two reasons which are helping pull up the water from the roots. Number one is the suction that is created by the process of transpiration, and secondly is osmosis, which is absorption of water by the roots. Now, osmosis is a process that you see every day. Even in this experiment where dry raisins have been soaked in water, after about 8 hours, you can see the raisins are swollen. They have absorbed all the water. So, what is taking place here? Osmosis is taking place. Osmosis will always happen when the water content inside a cell or a grain is less. You have seen the application of this osmosis, this process every day in your house when your mother soaks chana, rajma, etc. the night before to be able to cook them in lesser time the next day. So this was about osmosis. Now there is a second experiment in your book that tells you transpiration in plants, and it proves that the liquid that is given out by the leaves is water droplets. And because of this liquid, the water droplets that are given out through transpiration, what is happening? A suction is being created. So this is how water is transported. Now about food, we know that food is created. It is made inside the plant body through the process called photosynthesis. Plants need to transport water and mineral salts absorbed by the roots up to the leaves. Food prepared by the leaves also need to be transported from the leaves to all parts of the plants. The transport system in plants consists of xylem and phloem. Together they form the vascular system. The root hair absorb water and minerals from the soil. The absorbed water and minerals move from the cell to cell in the root and enter the xylem vessel, which is located in the center of the root. The xylem forms a continuous network of channels, connect the roots to the leaves through the stem and branches, transporting water and minerals throughout the plant. Plants lose extra water in the form of water vapor by the process of transpiration. A suction pull is produced that pulls water from roots upwards to great heights. This upward movement of water and minerals in a plant through the xylem vessels is known as ascent of sap. Now, the transported food is used by plant cells to produce energy during respiration, and it is also stored in different parts of the plants like roots, tubers and fruits, which become edible for human beings and animals. So this transportation of food is done by phloem. Now let's move on to the human beings. Transportation of material in animals. Now transportation of respiratory gases, that means oxygen and carbon dioxide, distribution of digested food to different parts of the body, and bringing back the waste to the kidneys and the waste gases to the lungs to clean the body are the three important functions of transportation system in human beings. Now the next question comes, who does this transportation? So this transportation is carried out by blood. Now the blood contains inside it living cells, which are RBCs, WBCs and the platelets. Let us understand these one by one. The RBCs, which are also called red blood cells, these are red in color because of the presence of hemoglobin. Now what is this hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is the substance in the RBC that binds the oxygen molecules. So this binding helps the blood to carry this oxygen to various parts of the body. It is known as oxyhemoglobin. This is a function of RBCs in the body. Now the white blood cells or WBCs, their function is immunity. They fight the disease causing microorganisms like bacteria. The third important component of blood is platelet. Now the function of the platelet is to plug the injury by forming a clot so that not a lot of blood is wasted. Now children, the main system of circulation of blood inside the body includes the heart. And along with the heart, there are the blood vessels, arteries that carry oxygenated blood and veins that carry blood with carbon dioxide in it. Let us understand the circulation process through this video. Blood is pumped to all the parts of our body through the blood vessels by a muscular organ called the heart. The heart is a muscular organ that is placed between the lungs in the chest cavity with its lower tip slightly tilted towards the left. A double-layered membranous sac called pericardium encloses the heart. The heart has 4 compartments called chambers. The upper 2 chambers are called the atria and the lower 2 chambers are called the ventricles. The left side of the heart has oxygen-rich blood and the right side has carbon dioxide-rich blood. The left side of the heart is separated from the right side of the heart by a partition called septum. The septum prevents the oxygenated blood from mixing with the deoxygenated blood. The regular contractions and relaxation of the heart causes the circulation of blood in the body. One complete rhythmic contraction of the heart followed by its relaxation is called a heartbeat. Oxygenated blood is brought from the lungs to the left atrium by the pulmonary vein. When the left atrium contracts, the oxygenated blood is pumped into the left ventricle. When the left ventricle contracts, it pumps oxygenated blood into the main artery called the aorta. The aorta branches into many arteries and supplies oxygenated blood to all the organs of the body. The oxygenated blood from the arteries passes through the capillaries of body organs, giving food and oxygen to body cells. At the same time, carbon dioxide produced during respiration enters into the blood through the capillaries. The deoxygenated blood that is collected from body organs enters the right atrium. When the right atrium contracts, the deoxygenated blood enters the right ventricle. When the right ventricle contracts, the deoxygenated blood is pumped into the lungs. The deoxygenated blood gives out carbon dioxide through the lungs and absorbs fresh oxygen from the air breathed in, hence making the blood oxygenated again. Now, having understood the circulation process, the next important thing for us to understand is what is a heartbeat. So, whenever the blood is transported from one chamber of the heart to another chamber, the valves close so that the blood does not go back. And this sound of closing of valves is what makes the heartbeat. Similarly, pulse is also a sound that tells us that blood is flowing. It also helps us to understand the beats, the heartbeat per minute. Now, this was about transportation of food and oxygen. Now, let us understand how the waste is thrown out of the body through another video. The excretory system in human beings consists of 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, a urinary bladder and a urethra. A large number of coiled tubes called nephrons are present in the kidneys. They act as filters. When the blood reaches the kidneys, the useful substances are absorbed back into the blood and the harmful substances are filtered by the nephrons. The waste products dissolved in water are removed from the kidney as a yellowish liquid called urine. Urine is carried by the ureters into the urinary bladder. It is stored in the urinary bladder and is passed out from the urethra at regular intervals. In case a person's kidney fails, a dialysis machine is used to clean the blood of a person. So children, the filtration unit of the kidneys is known as the nephrons. Once it filters out all the nutrients and returns them to the blood, the waste liquid is known as urine. The act of eliminating urine from the body is known as micturition. Sometimes there are certain disorders related to the kidney. There may be tiny stones that are formed inside the kidney. They are formed because of accumulation of minerals. Then there can be complete renal failure. In this case, the kidneys are filtered in an artificial manner by the process called dialysis. Now, other than all this, body also throws out wastes, mineral salts, etc. through the process of sweating. So children, in this chapter, you have learned the transportation of different kinds of materials both in plants and in animals. You have learned the complex system of transportation in human beings, which includes the circulatory system and the excretory system. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the chapter and are ready to do the questions at the back. Thank you.